I work as a teacher for a class of 16 kids. Most of them are 13 years old. One day, 13 of these kids, me and an assistant teacher, went to visit a museum as an extra class activity. It went fairly well until it was time to get back. We were on the fourth floor, waiting in line to get into the elevator. The elevators were small and could only hold a maximum of 3 people. We thought it was weird at the time, but as with many odd things in life, we shrugged it off. There was more than one lift available anyway. Nothing to do about it. The assistant teacher got in the elevator first, with 2 kids. Subsequent rides had 3 kids each, ending with me and 2 other kids. We got inside the metal box. I glanced briefly at 2 executive types waiting behind us in line, a man and a woman in suits. They didn't appear to be happy about all those children making them waste time. I pressed the button for the first floor. The door to the elevator closed. The inside was coated in white, polished metal. It seemed to be very new. The design was sleek, and there was only the panel with the 4 buttons on a wall and nothing else. 6 buttons, plus 1 to open and close the doors, and 1 for emergencies. There was no way to keep track of where you were while inside. Nothing. At some point, as the elevator rolled smoothly down, we all realized that we had already passed the first floor. We didn't say anything. Surely it was only our imagination. We would soon open the doors, and we would be at the entrance. But it kept going down. At some point, it felt even faster. I felt like throwing up. "Teacher, what's happening?" asked the girl beside me. I looked at my students. They were both shaking and pale. I presumed that so was I. It doesn't feel right to give them fake names, as I've seen many stories do. I'll just call them boy and girl. The boy looked like he hit puberty pretty quick and was tall and gangly. The girl was small, timid, and hunched over a lot. "I don't know, dear, but maybe it's just a malfunction. We must be going down to the basement. I'm sure our maintenance team will meet us there." I hit the button for communication, but all I got was a ringing sound. I said hello so many times I lost count, but nobody answered. The elevator kept going down. I thought, this is not possible. Existential fear hit me. My students looked about to pass out. "Let us hold hands," I told them. I held out my right hand to the girl, who held it and gave hers to the boy. The elevator stopped. The doors opened. We kept holding hands. In front of us was a large room, all cramped with many fabrics hanging from the ceilings and walls, sheets and more sheets of coloured and white fabrics. It smelled mouldy and it was dark. However, in the middle of the room there was a light, but from inside the elevator we could not see what was in there. I pressed the 1 button again to see if it would go up. I even tried to close the doors through the other buttons. It didn't work. We stepped out slowly and carefully, and then we saw. Inside, on the lit area, was an old sewing table. An equally old woman was behind it. She had long, dishevelled white hair that almost covered her face, and one of those dresses from the 19th century with wire around her legs. Cage crinoline, I think it was called. They make it seem like you have a big butt. At least, I assumed it was the dress doing and not her real butt. Beside her was a table with a skin-coloured suit, as if they were making a human-sized doll. I say they, because sat on a chair behind this second table was a man inspecting the fabric with a magnifying lens. He looked up immediately when we walked into the room. He had a really big head and was using an equally big hat to cover it. He was bald, and the parts of his head not covered with the hat were shining, oily. Behind both of them was a bunk bed. "Hello there. Can I help you?" he said in a mellifluous voice. "Yes, I'm afraid the lift brought us down here when we wanted to go to the first floor of the museum." He clicked his tongue loudly. "Ah, yes, silly old thing. Does that from time to time." The old lady was approaching slowly and observing us. No, she was checking our bodies. "We are the costume department. Don't be scared," the man said. I smiled faintly. "We just want to go back," the boy said. "Don't we all?" the man snapped. He continued, putting up 2 fingers. "There are 2 ways, since the lift doesn't seem to be working. First one is to go through the stairs behind the curtain to my right. They're old, made of wood, and not very well taken care of, but they're fairly safe. The way is lit, and you just take 1 flight of stairs all the way up." He paused. "The second is through the stairs on my left. They're made of brick and newer, but the way may not be all lit up, and there are 4 flights of stairs to get there. You also may have to walk a bit between these flights. The maintenance team left some boards with guidance along the way. If you follow the guidance, you won't get lost. We'll take a look at the one to the right first." He tipped his hat slightly. The lady left us to our devices and went back to sewing. When we opened the curtain to the right, automatic lights lit the way up the stairs. They were indeed made of wood and in a decrepit state. Many boards were out of place, and it seemed easy for one to fall down or injure oneself, especially considering the height of the stairs. Each of them was about thrice the height of a normal step. The girl tugged at our hands and was backing away from the curtains. I thought she was afraid of the stairs, until I looked to the side. There was a supersized metal shelf. On each cubicle of it was a baby in a cage. Most of them were asleep, but many were staring right at us. They looked wicked. The ones who had their eyes on us moved their hands and feet frantically in ways small babies should not be able to do yet. We all started to back away. One of the babies in the upper row asked in a very masculine and rough voice,
"Aren't you going to ask what all these babies are doing here? You've got the curiosity of a rock."
Some babies laughed. They didn't have babies' laughs. They had adults' laughs. Male and female, hearty belly laughs. I noticed some of them had zippers behind their necks, all the way down their backs. I closed the curtain and went to check the other stairs, unbelieving of what was happening. The children didn't seem to believe it either, and just kept mute. The man and the woman didn't give any more attention to us. The other stairs looked decent, but the way up was dark. I asked the kids for their cell phones. We could light the way up with them, provided they had enough battery life for it. Thankfully, 3 of them were almost full. I took this opportunity to look at the time, 16:44. "Look, we don't want to meddle in your business. We just want to get back safely. We won't tell anyone. We won't do anything. We have done nothing to you. So I hope you show the same respect back to us. Now tell me, is there some danger along the way?" Like I said, if you follow the way as led by the boards left by the maintenance team, you'll get back in no time at all. Very well then. We started to go up slowly and deliberately. Before we completely left the room, the man took out his hat in reverence to me. I could now see two little horns on each side of his egg-shaped head. I assumed he did that to scare me, so I let it slide. The way up was dark, but not dangerous. We soon got on a huge lit place, a forest clearing. The road up forked into many ways now, and there were boards with instructions everywhere. The first one, right in front of us, said, "First floor. Follow the path that starts like this." Beneath this phrase was a picture of many arrows, a pattern. Many roads started with arrows. We had to find the right one. We looked and looked and had no success. Eventually, we went back to the board. That's when the girl realized that the ground in front of the board was marked with the same pattern in it, pointing to the opposite direction, towards the way where we came from. We thought it impossible, but looking from the board, the stairs where we came from seemed to bend up instead of down. We approached them again with this idea in mind. They were stairs up. We double-checked the symbols to be sure, and up we went. The rest of the trip is hazy to me. I remember vaguely that we had to surpass many other challenges like this one, but their exact nature escapes me. In fact, the more I think about that day, the more it seems like my brain wants to desperately forget it. Which is one of the reasons why I'm writing this story. Eventually, the three of us, still holding hands, got to a completely white door that said, "Emergency exit," in bold black letters. We pushed it, and a strong white light blinded us. We all closed our eyes, and when we opened them again, we realized we were inside the elevator, whose door had just opened. We got out quickly. "What are you doing?" the assistant teacher asked, puzzled, seeing us hold hands. We finally let go. I checked my phone. 16:44. My students did the same. And then them and I eyed each other, doubting our minds. We were afraid to comment on it, afraid to act in any way that would bring upon us the wrath of whatever it was that lurked beneath the museum. The lift behind us opened again with a ping sound. From it got out the man and woman in suits that were behind us in line. The man in suit said to me, jokingly,
"3 little rocks stand on the way."
His voice was the same from that baby downstairs. "You talk too much. Let's just go," the woman said, and they left. The back of her neck looked shiny and outstretched, like hastily but masterfully sewn, seamless nylon fabric.